Good evening, everyone, once again. It is a little strange when I see you looking at me because I'm interested in what you're looking at and I see myself there. So, pardon me if I take strange pauses at times so that I get my bearings back. So, we will start with the reading, which is from the unmanifest to manifest. The blessed Lord said, O mighty armed Arjuna, hear now my supreme utterance, speaking for your highest good. I will say more to you who have listened with joy. Neither the multitude of gods nor the great sages know me in my unmanifested state. I am their source and origin. Whoever realizes me, however unborn and without any beginning, as well as the Lord of creation, has conquered delusion and is sinless, though he inhabit a human body. Whoever realizes me, however, unborn and without any beginning, as well as the Lord of creation, has conquered delusion and is sinless, though he inhabit a human body. This topic almost, or this sentence especially, almost seems like we're going to lift 25 kgs of bench press, spiritual bench presses. Absolutely has no context, but it feels good to even say those words, isn't it? Like unmanifest to manifest. And a good portion, again, I think for me initially, these were all beautiful and great words. Like that used to catch the hold of my mind's attention. Jivan Mukta. I remember when they ask you questions, especially if you go to initial classes, like what brought you here? So many people say, I'm looking for peace, I'm looking for stress reduction. I used to be very proud. I said, like, I have no problems like that. I'm peaceful. So then they would ask me, why are you here? And I would say, I'm here for self-realization. And I remember I used to be very happy about that answer. And I am here for, see, you guys, little low people, just suffering for peace. But I am here for self-realization. Well, why? I mean, there was, of course, it was not entirely of pride in nature, but it was naive and it was innocent, both at the same time. And innocence was a good, and I say I can give every one of us who say that answer with that thing some extra weight to that. Why I say naive is what something I want to talk a little bit about today. Then Swamiji again goes on later on explaining a little more about what we just read. And he makes it, like Swami, he makes it super simple and then something very tangible. When I thought about self-realized beings, earlier, and even now when we talk about that, are you self-realized? Or we can't ask each other, but we talk about some other person. It's like, oh, this person is coming, this saint is coming. They say he's self-realized. And we all have our notions about what it may look like. I recently was watching a video, somebody asked, he's a very great saint. So they asked me, are you self-realized? So he was talking about that. He said, they asked me, are you a self-realized person? Then to which I answered him, see, that question or answer to it is oxymoronic. And again, he didn't go into the details of it. But Master had a very beautiful answer to these kind of questions, which are typical mind. He says, a person who says he's self-realized, he's not self-realized. And the person who says he's not self-realized, he's not self-realized anyway. So the question just remains there, that who on earth is this self-realization? But if you ponder why, he was not making fun of it just like that, not just being witty. If you ponder what on earth then? Who is it? Then it actually brings the question back to us, the questioner. Maybe what we are demanding that self-realization is wrong. We have read a lot of things. I remember uh, I used to go to a saint. Uh, Swami Kriyananda ji had left body then, and so you always miss we can't sit in his presence anymore, so you find someone else. So this was also Kriya Yogi, and so very humble. So we used to go there, and again, as usual, if a saint is available, sir, question. Ah, I didn't have a question, but I was curious what he would answer. So I used to be engaged in that conversation or listening to the conversation going on. So one of his disciples was quite, how do you say, he was very not, how do you say, not his speech, Vani wasn't quite, his speech wasn't necessarily polite or anything, but he had understood something, that much I knew. So he said, Ki, what are you doing? I said, I'm listening very carefully. So he said, like, don't worry, don't listen to it. Doesn't matter what the questions are, what an answers. Watch him. So I didn't quite understand, but I followed what he meant. And then, so I would used to do that also. Whenever he is not answering or so I used to like keep a keen eye on what's happening. So one of those times, our eyes sort of met each other. And something happened in that moment. And I was like, so beautiful, so excellent experience. He did something. And then since then that became my habit. Swamiji came and I'm trying to look. Maybe one time I'm just staring into his eyes. Sometime he will look at me and then the same experience will come. And he noticed that, so he would never do it. And one time in the satsang itself, he said, this guy, he keeps staring into my eyes. And then I realized this is a hopeless case. So I dropped it. And I started thinking, what is it that I'm looking for? We also heard many stories. Some of us, we also talk about our experiences. I didn't have much time with Swami Kriyananda, but many of my dear friends, including Dr. Aditya, had spent more time with them. And then some of them actually, when Swamiji wasn't necessarily always surrounded by people. So they always know there is always this kind of a discussion about, I was there and then this magic happened and that magic happened. So this is our definition of saintlyhood or saintness, isn't it? Some magic needs to happen. It cannot be as ordinary as just going and having vada pav or having a chai. What is the magic? Self-realization is something, after all, we're after. It cannot be something so simple. And this is the biggest, how do you say, like the pitfall of our mind. Because if you see, our mind has a nature or tendency. When I say read the word from the unmanifested to the manifest, there could be only two responses from the mind. This is a brainy character, I have no interest, or I want to know all about it. Both are equally useless reactions actually, because they come from mind. The mind who is tired will just drop this topic. Mind who is super curious will read with extreme curiosity. And that same curiosity or curiosity of the mind can lead us to the path, but then it keeps us bonding and running around. See, the word self-realization talks about what? It's a very simple English word, actually. If we may have very grand projections about what it means, but it says it's an English word. It's not in Sanskrit. Self-realization. It is a realization. And realization of what? Realization that there is something within us which is precious. When I was looking at the Swamiji and looking for that same thing, my mind, or I was thinking there's something is transmitting and something I was receiving. But the thought at that moment never occurred, what is there in that could also be here. Isn't that the masters and everyone is trying to tell? We also tell this story I used to tell this story very proudly. Master would say, only if you look at each other with my eyes, I can see you, a light of divine in all of you, something. I'm paraphrasing that story. Huh? So that is the vision of Master, but what he's looking at is already here, isn't it? And this is a very important shift. We sometimes look at self-realization as कि 12 साल tapas karunga, then one day I will go and there will be Master will open the door and grant me. Where Dr. Aditya mentioned, I live in Chandigarh. This is the place where there are lots of lawyers, or there are lots of retired government officers like IAS officers, or lots of army people. So one of our immediate neighbor here is an army lady. Her husband is no more, but there are pictures of him everywhere. The pictures of him, and the other thing is there are lots of medals everywhere. Yeah. And everybody, they want to show it. And sometimes we look at self-realization is also like a medal. One day I will get it from the Master. And then, since then, Amit Purohit will go everywhere with that medal. And that is what the wrong notion of this realization is. And that's why the question itself cannot be answered in that way. Ki, what is that realization? That realization says that the way you perceive yourself is a complete false notion. Complete false notion. So this brings, in fact, when we sort of come to this point, it brings naturally to that quest. We say, okay, what is the whole point of all of it? It says the question, who am I? To what is the innate nature? Another funny thing came to mind while I was watching. So thank you. I see 14 participants online that you all came, because when we started, it was Dr. Aditya, I saw him, and then Blazy I saw, and then I saw Neeraj Bhai. And this was Ananda, Pune. Like none of them are actually local from Pune. And the same, it is not his story. I'm not making fun of it or anything like that. And when he says, I'm in Chandigarh, not from Chandigarh. A few people who have come here, they're also no person is from Chandigarh. So we can say that Ananda Pune is made up of non-Ananda Pune members. And same thing with non-Ananda Chandigarh is made of non-Chandigarh elements. But I wanted to say that to make a point is when we're certain about what we may be fighting about, whether that is the right thing, that Ananda Chandigarh, can it be called Ananda Chandigarh or so with Pune without any elements? But one certain we still say very confidently that I understand one thing, which is me, we have no uncertainty about it. So I would like you to contemplate, not necessarily now, but even now and even later, to what degree of certainty you can say ki, this is me. Anna? We can always, there is no confusion about anybody's mind. No? Maybe the concept of this whole unmanifest, manifest may sound very very difficult, but I know. But you have to prove to yourself or take it as a challenge. Ki, what is it that you refer to as you? Because we have seen many things. If I say, no, sometimes we say, mujhe dekho. But this is this me? Because I have seen my body change. If you don't believe, see the pictures of you have when you were a child. Then you are, when you were got married. I see some couple here, Selvaraji, that's why I say that. Or whatever, different phases of your life, and you see, my goodness, I was different. I remember in the initial days of Ananda, when I came, we let our hair and beard grow. They become so big and so ugly, but nobody told me. They were terrible. Now I look at those pictures and I myself get scared. So I asked Jhanaji, why didn't you tell us? She was suffering our existence for almost 2 years. And that was also me. Then you see everything about you changes within the body. But we so can we say this is me? If it is not me, then what is it? So that's why we also don't call this as me. We say this is my body. So we go a little inside. We got to find what is it actually, which we can truly claim, okay, I have found this has to be me. And whatever that me is has to be somewhere here only, na? It cannot be. So we just realize it is my body, but it is not me. Then we go inside and then we say, oh, but I have some good qualities. That must be me. Yeah, since the beginning of my childhood, I have always been kind person. And I am today also kind. Okay, let's look at that too. And you replace kindness with whatever you feel. है ना? सबको अगर इंटरव्यू देने के लिए गए and it's like, tell me about yourself, we will always tell something. Yeah? But when we look at it also, we realize that actually that is not true. I remember one time, Salil and me were having some argument. There was no kindness in me. It was on रुको आता हूँ, huh? And we did all those kind of things. And then maybe, yes, I took the kindness hat back. But it isn't true कि it was something comes and goes. I was quite kind at time. Most of the time I tried to be kind. But sometimes I am angry also. So meaning what? These things also come and go. I have seen it. I see sometimes when I'm doing some good things, a lot of love come in my heart. They also go. But we say I am a loving person. It isn't true at all. Because it is not always true. Sometimes, most of the times. But it is not true. That also is gone. I don't know if we are resonating or following what I'm saying, but look at it. This is a tremendous and important way of looking at it. We are going to find something within ourselves which got to be said as this is me, not my body, my mind, my emotions. All of it my, meaning I have them. But if I remove all of them, I have to find something which truly remains and has to be only me. And this is also, you can say in the scriptures, they talk about it as neti, neti. But if you do this practice, you come to the point where nothing actually remains. And that nothing is where we need to stay with. And then see if nothing is left, then what am I? And in your contemplation, in your meditation, when we sit in that nothing, you realize that nothing is actually the corest of the essence of it, which here it is represented as, in some ways, unmanifest. To manifest, we can also rephrase it as presence. We call it a presence. What is the presence of God? It is just that which is always there into every one of us, with or without practice. It is still there, as equally present in a sinner, in a person who is doing terrible things, as it is present in us. The only difference is we are intensely interested in knowing it, realizing that that is our truest essence. And when we even touch it to that extent, then the practice becomes very profound and yet very tangible. Is what? And it doesn't become now a quest of like lifetime or after lifetime, a number of years. It becomes a moment to moment. In this moment, I choose to live from the presence. And what that choice means, it just drop everything else we just talked about. Don't say you are a loving person because you aren't. Don't say you are a young or old or a child or because you aren't. We just proved it. So when we say we drop it, then what you are is I am actually cannot complete that sentence. And from that space, then let all the other manifestations come through. It's a much easier, much simpler, much direct way. And then every practice that we do, let it be Hongso, let it be Kriya, becomes profoundly transformed to the extent that now we are only trying to increase the degree of freedom that we have. See, self-realization isn't a thing that we achieve at the end of a particular cycle. It is something that we already have right now to a very small, some fraction of time, you may say. So the only thing which is happening is we are growing in it, meaning our realization is becoming larger and larger to the extent it is going to become permanent. Okay, so that's all I had today to share. Forgive me if this was a little complicated, but do try that practice, as I said. And I'm sure, I hope you will find that as helpful. So just let's take a moment of silence, and just the energy that we try to generate, we feel in our hearts through these satsangs, through this sharing. Let's send it out to everyone, especially those in need. So offer a prayer. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all Thy children. Manifest Thy healing presence in all bodies, all minds, and in all souls. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.